You've reached the Emerald City Church. How may I help you? Oh, is that you, Kevin? I didn't think you'd be there already, so I was just going to leave a message with the priest. Oh, hey, Rufina. Yeah, I got here late this morning. How about you? When do you think you'll be getting here? I'm going to be a little late, I'm afraid. There's been an accident or something, so the train's been delayed. I probably won't be getting there until this evening now. Gotcha. I'll wait here till you arrive. I think Reese and the kids would get all bent out of shape if I showed up without you. Oh please, I'm sure you're just exaggerating. Although speaking of Reese, I hope you've been thinking about how you're going to cheer her up. I've got it all planned out. I've been stocking up on souvenirs from every mission I've been going on. Should be enough to snap her out of her funk. I wouldn't be so sure if I were you. Girls her age are more complex than you think. Yeah? I guess she's not really a kid anymore now that she's 13, but still. Actually, that's about how old you were when we first met, right? Now that you mention it, it was. How time flies. Sorry, it looks like the train's about ready to leave. I'm gonna have to go. I'll see you later then, alright? If you get bored of waiting, you're welcome to go on home ahead of me, of course. Got it. See you later. Man, how time flies is right. Have I really not been home in 2 years? And I guess that makes 9 since I met Rufina. Oh, I hope Reese isn't too grumpy when we finally get there. Kevin? What is it, Father? Has something bad happened? Well, I've just received word that someone spotted a group of men dressed in all black at the edge of town. What's worse is they were supposedly heading for the mountain path. You don't think? If they were, Astor House must be their target, I fear. Do you have any idea what could be going on? I wish I did. I doubt it's anything to do with the Growl Shritter at least. I think I should go and check it out just in case. Please do. Oh, do you know when Rufina's going to be arriving, by the way? This evening, by the sound of it. She said her train's been delayed. When she arrives, can you let her know what happened? Darn it, Jaegers? Seems like there's anywhere between 5 and 10 of them. But what could they want with a gospel facility to begin with? The longer they're allowed to be in there, the more danger the kids are in. I'm gonna have to try and handle this alone. It's time to put my combat skills to good use. Chapter 6: The Guardian's Trials. Celeste? Wasn't that the name we saw in those data crystals? That's right. According to those, she was the de facto leader of the group of ancients who sealed away the Aureole. She was also the founder of Labelle's current royal family. I'm glad to see the information I left behind ended up proving useful to someone. It really did. So then you're really the founder of Labelle's royal family? Not technically. I'm not the real Celeste d'Auslis. Think of me as something of a shadow. Or a partial copy her personality created in order to influence Phantasma from within. How can you only be a partial copy? The truth behind you is apparently more complicated than we thought. You don't appear to be a spirit of some kind, though. I see that now. That is correct. Before I try to explain just what I am, I should probably tell you more about what the world we are in is first. You can do that. This should be interesting. As you are aware, the land in which you stand is called Phantasma. This is a world belonging to a higher plane of existence created several thousands of years ago by the Aureole. Its purpose was to act as a subsystem for the Aureole in order to incorporate and process the will of the Liber Arc's populace. One might call it a self-organized world designed to realize countless possible others as necessary. Pardon? You've lost me. Yeah, isn't there a simpler way to explain this? Well, while not technically correct, perhaps you could think of it this way. Phantasma is like a fictitious realm created by the Oriole in order to fulfill humanity's every wish and desire. That's better. What exactly qualifies Phantasma as fictitious? I can't help but think it far too real to be a land of pure fantasy. When I say a fictitious world, I don't mean to suggest that Phantasma is a complete lie. It's more like a shadowgraph or kaleidoscope. It has its own laws and can change to reflect countless different possibilities. Does this make the concept any easier for you to understand? Somewhat, yes. Okay, so it's basically like the Matrix. Except instead of to imprison humans, it is to imprison humans, but in this one it's to basically grant all of the desires that they could possibly want. And suddenly the name Phantasma seems that much more appropriate. As I stated previously, it was a subsystem of the Oriole rather than being the Oriole itself, and it helped to grant people's desires. They were separate entities, but effectively like two sides of the same coin. The relationship caught our eye as we were devising the sealing mechanism. You mean the mechanism used to seal away the Oriole? That was also in those data crystals left behind. Exactly. At first we thought our plan would be impossible to execute. After all, the Oriole had absolute control over space itself and was able to influence mankind's every action. Even after coming upon the idea of temporarily freezing it and imprisoning it within a gravity barrier, we had no way to implement our plans. Without that, they were simply ideas with no real meaning. We were effectively at a total loss. You had discovered your foe's weakness but had no way to take advantage of it. That must have been quite the frustrating predicament. Indeed. And yet our perseverance rewarded us with the development of something that could take advantage of that weakness, the Recluse Cube. Is that what this is known as then? Yes, that is the only object in existence able to interact with Phantasma without relying on the Oriole as an intermediary. Celeste used that to create a partial copy of her personality, that is, me, inside Phantasma. And once inside, I began working to sabotage Phantasma's functionality by using this garden as my base of operations. As a result of my efforts, the Oriole's processing ability was hindered just long enough for the plan to be executed. He who catches his foe off guard wins the battle. The same principle applies to martial arts too. It sounds like you really put a lot of thought into planning everything. Maybe, but I can't deny that luck played a part in the end. Once the Oriole was sealed away, my work was done and I fell into a deep sleep here. My reason being that if the Oriole were ever unsealed, I might be able to provide assistance to the people of that time. I'm pleased you've been able to handle it just fine without my help, however. Luck's played a huge part for us too, though. We're not even sure where the Oriole is now. As far as we're aware, it disappeared during all that happened at the Liberarch. I thought as much. I was able to confirm the Oriole's disappearance from here within Phantasma too. When I did so, I thought my purpose for existing was finally over, and that all that was left for me in this land was to embrace a slow and peaceful destruction. But that was not to be. Soon the Lord of Phantasma appeared. Ah, so that's when it happened. Quite a recent development, I see. The Lord of Phantasma appeared out of nowhere, stealing all of my power before I was even aware what happened. After doing so, they began to remake Phantasma in accordance to their own designs. Both this world's current structure and the planes that make it up were all the Lord of Phantasma's creations. Looks like your theory was correct, Ren. Still, that makes it sound like... yeah. So you don't know who that masked idiot is either then? I'm afraid not. Their every action thus far has been a mystery. Ordinarily, they should not have been able to gain access to this world in the first place. And I'm afraid I have no idea what they are trying to achieve by bringing all of you in here and testing you. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, that's the part we want to know most of all. I only wish I could be of more help. The only other thing I can say about them is that I suspect the Lord of Phantasma is currently in the 7th plane. There's a 7th? What makes you think that? That was the first plane they created after appearing in this world. Just what kind of a place that plane is, I don't know. But I can sense dark, inhuman thoughts from there, and they're spreading out across the whole of Phantasma. That doesn't sound good. Then we'll be seeing them after the next one, won't we? Yeah, we'd just finished the 5th when we came back here. Presuming they're waiting for us on the 7th, the time to fight them head-on may not be that far off. Huh, I was getting tired of waiting. As was I. It seems the end may finally be in sight. Now, if only we had some sort of inkling as to what the Lord of Phantasma is trying to achieve. Actually, I just might. Kevin? You're up! It's good to see you again, Father. You too. I wasn't expecting you of all people to get an invitation here. Or you for that matter, little lady. I'm sure you weren't. I've got something I want to ask you, but I suppose that can wait until later. For sure. Are you sure you're feeling alright? Right as rain. I'm feeling just great. All that sleep must have done me a lot of good. And I see you guys made a whole lot of progress while I was out cold too. Yeah. Hey, I'm Kevin Graham. Or maybe I don't need to introduce myself since you seem to know a thing or two about everyone who's come in here so far. True, I was able to tell what was happening at the Liber Arc from the garden. And out of all of the people here, you are the one closest to the truth of what is happening here. Am I wrong? What? No, I don't think you are. I can't pretend to be much of an expert on what Phantasma itself is, but I've got a pretty good idea as to who's responsible for all of this. I can only think of one person twisted enough to put us through all that we've been through. Wait, is it someone you know? You could say that, yeah. The short version is, they're a real piece of work. A cunning, arrogant, cold-hearted son of a gun who doesn't even see people as people. That about sums up who we're dealing with. Sounds like a real awful guy. And who, may I ask, is it that you're talking about? Well, about that. Would you be willing to wait just a bit longer for the answer to that one? Oh, come on, we all know it's Wiseman. Just spit it out, Kevin. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I'm still missing one last thing that'll let me be completely certain. And I think we'll find out just what that is in the 6th plane. And here I thought we were finally going to get an answer. Is there a reason you can't share your theory as is? Because he wants to keep us in suspense. Yeah, I realize I'm asking a lot after we've come so far, but I promise that as soon as I know for sure, I'll talk. I swear on the goddess's name and on the church's emblem. Well, I don't see any reason to say no. Likewise, he's clearly got his reasons. It's not often you ask us for favors, so I can let it slide. No problem here. If he says wait, I'll wait. I feel as though we can trust your judgment, Kevin, so I have no objections either. Me neither. I don't really care as long as I get to have my fun. I believe we're all in agreement then? Yep, consider this one settled. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Anyway, now that I'm up, I'm also down to take lead again, and I'd appreciate it if you backed me up. No problem. It seems like you're all ready to move on. While you're advancing through the 6th plane, I'll do all that I can on my end to find out more about the 7th. Of course, if you need my support, I'll be happy to provide it through the cube and the monuments as I always have. Now that you mention it, we haven't really thanked you for all the help you've given us since we got here, have we? Thanks, Celeste. We couldn't have done this without you. We truly are in your debt. Please, think nothing of it. I am but a shadow, placed here with a duty to fulfill. I believe helping you to be part of that duty. If I may, allow me to help you however I can. Will do. Sorry for worrying you too, Reese, but I'm just fine now. So please, just leave everything to me. I'm begging you. Only if you promise me one thing. What is it? I won't make you promise not to put yourself in danger or to overdo it, but don't do anything that would make Rufina sad. You really know how to hit a guy where it hurts, don't you? So, will you promise? Yeah, I promise. I swear in her name I won't. Alrighty, things are kind of freed up so we can take whichever other party members we want with us. Gonna take Chloe, because we will be using her in the next area, but Olivier and Mueller, because we have a door to go and look at. Let's go ahead and speak to everybody first, though. I myself am but a shadow bound by the laws of Phantasma. As such, I'm afraid I'm limited in what I can do. But I'll be sure to do all that I can to support you in your efforts. Hey, Zin was saying something kinda cool earlier. He says this place is perfect for martial arts training. I might not be into the same combat style as him, but I'm not gonna say no to a chance to get stronger. Say, you wanna join me for some sparring later, Zin? Sure thing. Yes, that's right. He introduced himself as this land of Phantasma's foremost guardian. Joshua? By the sounds of it, you've probably encountered him more times than I have, but... Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to make sure I'm prepared. So, Father, how are you feeling now? Fine, thanks. Sorry about worrying you guys so much. Oh, don't be. I wasn't there to see you collapse, so I was simply curious how you were doing. I never would have imagined the very ghost who aided us all this time was an ancestor of the Liberlian royal family. Still, I can hardly imagine a more reassuring revelation. I'd like to think that with her help, we may be able to compete against the Lord of Phantasma after all. What? You've got that really rare Landmore limited edition plushie? I really want that one too. You're so lucky. I think she's probably the one least bothered about what's going on here out of all of us. So then I decided to give him a name. I raised a cat once before too, you know. The professor called him a steel cougar, if I recall. That doesn't sound like the kind of cat I'm thinking of. Yeesh. Ren is one dangerous girl. This world really does make no sense. I mean, I'm pretty sure what Celeste is saying is the truth, but it all just seems so weird. Well, whatever. Guess there's no point in worrying about it. I'll just try and help the princess here. I'm sorry, Gisette. I didn't mean to push my work onto you. Oh no, it's no big deal. It's not like I've got anything better to do right now. Hey, the Doll Knight series. Let's try and go through this real quick. 2, 3. This is also on my channel in a playlist if you want to see it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, this is a lot of chapters. 13, 14. The Doll Knight is actually a pretty good read though, so I do 15. Highly suggest that you go ahead and give that video a watch if you're interested. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, And the finale. There we go. I understood the gist of what Celeste was saying, but that doesn't really explain why there are all of these books here. Especially so many of them. Something's not clicking with me. Oh, look at this weird one. A weird one? What's it called? From Fat to Fit. By Gilbert Stein. These bookcases really are weird. A number of interesting books here. From Fat to Fit. There's a book called From Fat to Fit written by Gilbert Stein. Well, this guy's dedicated. Yeah, let's go with that. I have no idea what that was about, or what the book is even about, but reading it does get you a achievement, I believe. Okay, which door are we looking for? Choose left or right? No. Is it a star door? Brings me Playful Minstrel. There we go. Star door 8. Brings me the Playful Minstrel and his closest ally against the beast they seek to overcome. Right, let's see what this memory is all about, shall we? Get a bit more background info on Olivier and Mueller. I'm sure this will be interesting and enlightening. 1 month after the collapse of the Liber Arc, the banquet to celebrate the crisis's successful resolution was over, with Estelle and her friends having largely left the capital to go elsewhere. One of them, however, Prince Olivier Rees-Honor, sat rather comfortably in the ambassador's office in Gransel's Erebonian embassy, his work in the country not quite settled. I can't believe that you... I mean, my deepest apologies for not noticing that you were His Highness Prince Olivier sooner. Oh, I'm not surprised you never realized. I may be a prince, but my mother was a commoner. What point is there in bothering to remember my face? It's not as though I often showed myself in the palace or attended high society gatherings. Knowing me certainly isn't going to help you in moving up the ranks, my friend. There's no need to be humble, Your Highness. Besides, I'm actually rather grateful to you, Ambassador. You gave me all kinds of useful advice during my stay here at the embassy that I'm sure will be to my benefit in the future. Well-meant words such as, act like a man of the Empire for once in your life, and stop idling here, go home and try some darned work. Your Highness, Your Highness, I think you've tormented him enough for one day. The ambassador behaved in the same way any other sane man would in his position. If anything, I'd say he has every right to be angry at us for keeping the truth from him for so long. But Mueller... I suppose you're right. I'll spare him any more teasing for now. I actually wasn't joking about being grateful to you, though. You truly have done admirable work over the past month. I have. Acting as a pipeline with the Empire, checking the safety of Erebonians residing in Liberl, helping the international liner service to resume. And those are only the tip of the iceberg. You've done so much more. You have my deepest thanks as a prince of the Empire. I am not worthy of such praise, Your Highness. You, however, deserve the utmost for braving the danger you did flying up to the Liber Arc. All of what happened seems to have caused quite the commotion in our homeland. So the people seem to be rather relieved now that they know the danger has passed. It's all thanks to your courage that they are able to rest easy. Oh, there's no point in flattering me, Ambassador. I just did what I could, nothing more, nothing less. And I couldn't have done anything alone. All I was able to accomplish was thanks to the help of those around me. I'm fairly removed from the stereotype of Erebonians as stern, strong, and self-sufficient, if I do say so myself. As rude as it may be to agree, perhaps you're correct. And yet I believe your willingness to be flexible most definitely rather helped than hindered you here. I believe people like you are exactly what the Empire is going to need in the future, regardless of how I may feel about His Excellency the Chancellor's approach. Ambassador. Well, this is a surprise. I was under the impression that you supported the Chancellor. Then again, you are a noble. Does that lead you to oppose his reformist policies, perhaps? I may be a noble on paper, but I'm only a baron. All in all, I generally fall in favour of his reformist policies. Be that as it may, while this may just be the result of being in Liberl for so long and being influenced by the ways of its people, I do sometimes find myself becoming frightened by his hardline approach. I can't help but wonder exactly what direction he's trying to take our old nation. Interesting. Your Highness? Oh, I was just thinking that I'm quite glad to have taken the chance to engage in such fruitful talk with you just before departing the country. I pray you will continue doing all you can to ensure the peace of Liberl and its surrounding nations while I'm gone. Preferably in cooperation with Ambassador Cochrane. Yes. Let's not forget her, I suppose. Still, it's true that since the Non-Aggression Pact was signed, there has been some progress with regards to the Crossbell problem. And given that it was Liberl who proposed said pact, that makes my role in future negotiations very important indeed. I presume that is what you're trying to say? You're a sharp one, my good man. Excellent. Now I can return to the capital with my mind at ease. Leave everything here to me, Your Highness. I will be looking forward to hearing what you achieve back in our homeland. This truly is a country like no other. I never thought the day would come when I would hear things like that from a noble of the Empire. Indeed, he is apparently somewhat less of an obstinate man than I thought he was. Perhaps this nation's very air has the power to genuinely change people. It seems to have had an effect on you, too. I feel like I'm seeing a lot more smiles from you these days than I used to. I'm loath to admit it, but they may well be true. I still find myself wishing you would learn from Liberlian's dignity and sense of restraint, however. Two qualities you don't particularly possess in any measure. In fact, you're far too much of their opposites. You say that, but these qualities are the only weapon that I have. I don't have much that will allow me to compete against the Chancellor. I need to use what little happens to be tucked in my corner as best as I can. Have there been any changes to our plans? None. We should be able to proceed as arranged. 3 days ago, the Chancellor left the capital on a tour of Eastern Erebonia. Tomorrow, you will be returning there aboard the Arcel, while he's still out in the east. All those who need to be made aware of our return have been given proper notice. Your arrival in Erebonia will make a real impact. Of that, I'm certain. What potential obstructions to the plan are there at present? Nothing major. There have been some movements in the Intelligence Division's 4th subdivision, but not much. There's a chance that everyone is being cautious because the Arcel is involved. But I'd put greater odds on the idea that everyone is just treating this as a pompous performance by you, and not taking it seriously. Well, they'd be right to. It is. I've no choice but to start here, even if this means I have to use Liberl. And if I'm going to put on a show, why not put on the finest one the skies have ever seen? I suppose I can't argue with that. I'm sorry to trouble you at this late hour, Your Highness. A message has arrived for you from Heimdall. What would you have me do? Really? All right, come in. Pardon me? Well, if it isn't Lecter. I was wondering where you'd been. I haven't seen you all day. I've been exceptionally busy with work since this morning, I'm afraid. Wait, it's Lecter or Letcher. Letcher. I'm gonna go with Letcher. That's the guy from the academy who dropped out. I've been exceptionally busy with work since this morning, I'm afraid. I'd hoped to be able to come and see you earlier since you will be leaving tomorrow. I'm terribly sorry for not being able to. Oh, never mind that. If that work of yours is done now, we three could always enjoy some sensual quality time together for the remainder of the night. So what was the message from the Capital Secretary? They've acknowledged receipt of His Highness's message. However, they didn't anticipate that you may be able to arrive all the way from Gransel in less than half a day. As such, they're currently in a minor panic, trying to ensure everything's ready for the ceremony tomorrow. That doesn't come as a surprise. There's nothing like the Arcel when it comes to speed at home. Oh, how cruel you both are for so deftly ignoring my proposal. Although it sounds as though the stage will be set in time. Now I need to decide on an outfit that will leave everyone's jaws on the floor to sweeten my arrival. Perhaps a glistening coat and white loincloth will do the trick. That'd make a grand impact, alright. I almost wish I could go along and see it myself. Please don't encourage him. You show remarkable promise for someone so young. What do you say to coming back on the Arcel with me? I'd welcome your company. Your work here in Labelle is just about done as it is, isn't it? Your offer's certainly tempting, but I'm afraid I have another job to take care of soon. The thought is appreciated, of course. Really? Well, that is a shame. Good luck with that next job of yours. Thank you. Well, if you'll excuse me. So, that is Second Secretary Letcher Arundel. It is safe to assume he's one of the Chancellors? Almost definitely yes. He came through Harken Gate on foot and took up his new position at the embassy a month ago. And right around the same time we headed to the Liber Arc aboard the Arcel at that. There's no way that could possibly be a coincidence. No, it couldn't. The most likely possibility seems to be that he's part of the intelligence division. Are you sure not doing anything regarding him all this time was a good idea? Oh, absolutely. We needed some way to find out what the Chancellor was up to after all. We'll probably get some kind of reaction from the Chancellor through his reports at some point. Probably in about 2 weeks when the Chancellor's tour has finished. You'd planned that far ahead all along, had you? Well, in that case, I'll be sure that we're ready. I'll be counting on you, love. Oh? Something the matter? Not really, it's just that the moon has come out. And what a beautiful moon it is. It's strange to think that this will be the last time we'll see the moon from here. Truth be told, I'm going to miss it. Well, well, it looks like putting a smile on your face a little more often isn't the only thing Labelle's done for you. It's opened up your eyes to life's natural beauty as well. But in all seriousness, we'll just have to do all we can to be able to come back and see it again one day, while we're both still alive. Indeed. The next morning. Your Majesty, Your Highness, I humbly thank you both for your generous hospitality during my stay in your fine kingdom. You were even gracious enough to humour my brazen request of escorting me back to Heimdall aboard the Arcel. This debt I owe you will be repaid many times over in the future, rest assured of that. Oh, you needn't think of this as anything we went out of our way for. Escorting an honoured state guest back home is a matter of course, particularly a guest to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude. If you ever have the opportunity, please do come back to Labelle again in the future. I imagine Estelle and Joshua will be back by then too, so we'll all be able to give you a nice warm welcome. I'm already excited for my next visit. Have they left the country yet, by the way? They're busy getting ready to leave over in Roland at the moment, I believe. I'm planning to go see them off when the time comes. I see. Incidentally, while the ruins of Hamel are currently sealed off, I'll do what I can on my end to ensure they are allowed inside. Could I trouble you to pass that along to them? Certainly. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Oh, think nothing of it. It's the least I could do after all they've done for me. I owe you a great deal too, Cassius. If not for your assistance, stopping that armored division from crossing into Labelle would have been as simple as it was. Wouldn't have been as simple. I could say the same to you. Still, as I'm sure you're aware, that outcome will have been well within the realm of possibility for the Chancellor. I doubt he was even surprised by the incident. Really? Most likely not. Erebonia had nothing at all to gain from using that situation to occupy Labelle. Certainly not to the extent that it would be worth going out of their way to develop inefficient steam tanks. The only reason I can see for him doing that he did was as a show of power to surrounding nations, a statement that even without Orbital power, Erebonia's army could still act. I indeed suspect that was his true aim all along. Goodness. So you did notice. The Orbital shutdown phenomenon was a complete unknown to the rest of the continent. Perhaps it might never occur again, but there's always the chance it might, whether it's here or somewhere else entirely. I hear the Empire only built a relatively small number of those tanks in all too, certainly not enough to launch a full-scale invasion. By the sounds of it, they were just put together in Reinford's factories using parts intended for standard Orbital tanks. But as it stands, the know-how to put together tanks like that only exists in the Empire, and in these unpredictable times, no other nation has the time or resources to try and develop extremely inefficient steam-powered weaponry. In a sense, because of what just happened, the Imperial Army's effect as a deterrent is even greater than ever. He's using war as a diplomatic tool, and very effectively at that. None of this has even occurred to me. I have a long way to go before I'm fit to be the ruler of this country. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. He's no ordinary foe to even the most hardened veterans. The Chancellor always seems to be thinking several steps ahead of the rest of the world. It's impressive no matter what we may think of his actual ideas. I'm quite the reckless fool to be trying to challenge him, if I do say so myself. Don't be silly, Your Highness. How you could say that with a smile on your face is utterly beyond me. You should focus on building yourself a strong foothold to begin with. I do hope you'll be careful. No matter what may occur, be sure not to lose sight of exactly where you stand. Of course, Your Majesty. If I were to go and bring shame upon myself now, I'd be wasting all the effort involved in escorting me back home. I'll be sure to take what you have said to heart. Excuse me, Your Majesty. Hilda? Whatever is the matter? It's not often I see you so flustered. My apologies, Your Majesty. It's just that a guest for you arrived all of a sudden at the castle. Ordinarily, I would not have rushed in while you were meeting with others, but the visitor is so irregular that I thought you should know at once. Irregular? How so? It sounds like it's about time I take my leave then. Actually, the visitor said he would like to greet you as well, and not just Her Majesty. What? Hilda, just who is this visitor? Well, he introduced himself as Chancellor Gileath Osborne of the Erebonian Empire. That guy really is a couple of steps ahead. It's an honor to be granted a personal audience. I'm Gileath Osborne, representative of the Imperial Government. My apologies for the abrupt intrusion. So you are Chancellor Osborne. And it's a pleasure to see you again as well, Your Highness. It's been a year since we last met, has it not? I hope these passing months have seen you well. Yes, a year sounds about right. Still, while I hope you'll forgive me for asking, just what did prompt someone of your stature to appear at the castle without warning? I'd very much like to hear your side of the story. My apologies, Your Highness. You see, these past few days I've been touring Eastern Erebonia on routine inspections. It's been going very smoothly, more so than I had initially anticipated. I had enough free time in my schedule to pay a cordial visit. Oh my, is that so? Naturally, I would have preferred to come here while the crisis was still unfolding like you yourself did, Your Highness. Unfortunately, the confusion in southern Erebonia was simply too pressing a matter, and I had no choice but to deal with that first. This was the first chance that presented itself to come here and meet directly with Her Majesty, so I acted with the utmost expediency. I hope you'll forgive my lack of proper decorum in failing to give advance notice of my arrival. That does make sense, at least. Regardless, please don't concern yourself with me. No doubt you wish to offer your greetings to Her Majesty. My thanks, Your Highness. Well then, allow me to extend my most heartfelt greetings to the both of you, Queen Alicia and Princess Claudia. It's abundantly clear that the crisis that unfolded here has been quite the ordeal for yourselves and for your nation's people. You have my deepest sympathies for the hardships you have endured, as well as my commendation for bringing the situation under control. I thank you for your kind words, Your Excellency. If anything, we should be apologizing to you for the fact that the southern side of your nation was caught up in what should have been our problem. We should be the ones going to you rather than having you trouble yourself to come all the way to Labelle. I beg you to accept our apologies together with my deepest thanks for coming here today. No, I would never ask for apologies. I have heard what happened was the work of a shadowy organization stirring up trouble within your borders. While I meant well by sending a military force to aid you, I wouldn't have done something so careless had I known the truth of the matter. My actions were rash, foolish even, and I was rightfully reprimanded by His Imperial Majesty for them. Oh my. Fortunately, His Highness the Prince was able to act with all due haste to put right my misstep before even greater harm was done. I owe you a great debt of gratitude for that, Your Highness. And congratulations, besides, for your part in bringing an end to the crisis. Oh, I did nothing out of the ordinary. I had a lot of help from Her Majesty, Her Highness, and Brigadier General Bright here too. Bright, you say? It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Excellency. I'm Cassius Bright, a Brigadier General in the Labellian Royal Army. The pleasure is all mine, I assure you. Your name is rather well known even in the Empire. Not as much as yours is known here in Labelle, I would imagine. It's an honor to be able to speak with you in person. It's certainly a surprise to be able to, though. Coming here on a whim can't have been easy for a man as busy as yourself. It sounds as though I may have underestimated just how capable you truly are. Not at all. I was greatly impressed to see the Royal Army's effectiveness in dealing with the tumult here. Your forces have proven powerful yet flexible, capable of dealing with emergencies ably and decisively. I might go so far as to say it embodies an ideal that the Imperial Army with its swollen ranks could never hope to realize. You flatter us, Your Excellency. For your part, I hear you are responsible for the establishment of the Imperial Army's famed intelligence division. Our army is in desperate need of a new one of its own, so I find myself quite envious. It almost sounds as though the two of us want what the other has. So it does. May I ask, Your Excellency, what will you be doing now? For my part, I'm intending to leave Labelle today, so I'm afraid I won't be around much longer. Yes, so I've been told. I believe you're intending to make your grand arrival in Heimdall aboard the famous Arcel. I'm impressed you're already aware. I almost wish I could return to Erebonia and board it alongside you. But alas, I'm afraid I have other business demanding my attention after I'm finished here. I'll be leaving Labelle separately this afternoon. That is a shame. I would very much have liked to invite you to this evening's banquet. Please, you need not go to such troubles on my account. I feel as though I've put you out enough showing up unannounced as I did, to say nothing of dining with such esteemed company. Still, I do have some time before the airship will be leaving on its due to depart. That being the case, might I ask for a little of your time, Your Highness? I have a few things I'd like to discuss with you personally. Very well. I have some matters I would actually like to discuss personally with you as well. What a fortuitous coincidence. Allow me to have a room arranged for the two of you to have your discussion then. Hilda, if you would. Certainly, Your Majesty. He's shown that he's still one step ahead of any plans Olivier might have. Doesn't want Olivier getting too comfortable. Ah, it's obvious that Her Majesty is quite the tea fancier, if this blend is anything to go by. The fragrance, the temperature, the taste. I'd be hard-pressed to find fault with any of it. I've always been more of a coffee man myself, but I've no doubt that I'd be content with a cup of this at my desk each morning. As much as I agree with you, I don't believe we're here to talk about beverages. So, shall we get right to the point? What did you want to discuss with me? I see your sojourn in La Belle has proven most fruitful. Pardon? When we last spoke, you struck me as a bright, flexible young man, and no doubt you still are, but now I see in you a resilient inner strength girding those aspects. I'm sure His Majesty will be most delighted with your personal development. Meanwhile, I see you're the same fearless man I've always known you to be. More so, even. That crushing aura about you seems to have only grown with time. It's as if you feed on the resentment of those who live in the territories you annex. Such harsh words, Your Highness. Personally, I prefer the term political unification. Annex can carry such negative connotations, you know. Since the end of the 100 Days' War, our army hasn't committed a single act of aggression. All our unifications have been entirely peaceful. Oh, you're quite right about that. On the surface. Oh? It's amazing how similar the annexion process is every single time it happens. It starts with a small nation or independent state with an array of problems beyond repair. Those problems start to worsen, after which Jaegers and other dangerous elements enter, plunging public order to an all-time low. Desperate for a solution, the local government requests the help of the Imperial Army. Before they know it, they're part of the Empire. Well, it's not as though I can deny what you're saying. Each instance does share certain commonalities. Still, it's to be expected, an inevitable consequence of the age of unchecked growth and progress in which we live. The Imperial Army is simply acting in the Empire's best interests, helping to stabilize our neighbors for the good of the Empire. And it's understandable that they would. I do find myself rather curious why Intelligence Division members are going to such nations with such peculiar frequency. Well before the problems I described worsened, no less. I won't press as to where you came by such information, as curious as I am. But I will say this, at its most basic level, these actions are about risk management. It's because we've been acting to minimize such risks beforehand that the army has been able to successfully quell each problem in turn, with the small price of earning the disdain of the people in those nations and an increased risk of terrorism in exchange. To tell you the truth, I'm rather astounded that you had the courage to come here to La Belle all on your own to begin with. After all, you've made yourself the biggest target for terrorists in all of Erebonia. The concern is touching, Your Highness. I would ask that you not trouble yourself with my safety. I employ some very skilled subordinates tasked primarily with eliminating the risks of terrorists' attack against me. Really now? That Lecter is one of those, I assume? A rather peculiar fellow, isn't he? But a very useful one all the same. Working out the scheduling for this trip and taking all the necessary precautions to ward off terrorist threats were both his doing. And thanks to his commendable efforts, I can depart for Crossbell free from worries as soon as I've finished my business here. Crossbell? Are you surprised? I'll be participating in a top-secret discussion with a representative of the Crossbell government. Recently, a large amount of funding has been flowing into the country through Republican channels, putting our allies on the defensive. I'd always meant to visit at some point, and this seemed the perfect opportunity. Are you out of your mind? Crossbell is full of enemies and different factions at each other's throats. I hear it's now even a hotbed for terrorists and criminal organizations because of its position as a buffer state. Does that really sound like a place the Erebonian Chancellor should be going, even on an unofficial visit? I'm surprised to hear you advocating caution in the face of potential danger, Your Highness. After all, it was you who flew onto an ancient city at great risk to your own safety and returned unharmed after surveying it. Compared to such rousing risk-taking, my visit to Crossbell will be child's play. As I'm sure you're aware, you're regarded as something of a hero back in Erebonia now. To see a hero make a grand return befitting his newly minted legend, and aboard the famous Arcel no less. Naturally, our hero has also taken the time to ensure that every well-known newspaper and magazine are aware of his homecoming too. Oh, I have no doubts that your triumphant arrival will be every bit as glorious as it was played out in your imaginings, Your Highness. Do be sure to capitalize on this chance as best you can to build yourself a firm foothold. I expect great things from you after all. They're really pushing that they're going to be going to Crossbell in the next couple of games. Lots of hints before the games came out. Hey, buddy! You haven't changed a bit, huh? Really? Sounds like a ton's happened, huh? But it's nice to see you and your master are doing alright. Lecture? Well, well. Good day to you, Your Highness. I pray I'm not causing any trouble by taking a tour of the castle like this. The view from this terrace certainly is beautiful, isn't it? What happened to you, Lecture? How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne? Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't the faintest idea what you mean. Are you perchance mistaking me for someone else? Your name is Lecturer Arundel. You were the Student Council President at Janus Royal Academy, which you attended before leaving suddenly 2 years ago. So no, I am not mistaking you for someone else. But that's where you're wrong, because my name is actually Terrarondel. I can certainly see how our names could become mixed up, however they are scarily close. Still, now you know, please just call me Lech. Don't try and joke around with me, Lecture. Do you have any idea how worried all of us were when you just disappeared without a word? You submitted your notice to leave the academy and then were never seen again. Even the otherwise calm Leo let out a cry of anger when he found out. And all Lucy could do was give a sad smile and say, "This is just like him," the whole time with tears in her eyes. Jill and Hans were heartbroken, and so was I. Yet after all that, after all this time, you finally show yourself knowing full well that I'm here, and this is how you act? By pretending you're someone else? Lecture! Sorry. No need for the scary glare. You're still taking things way too seriously. Looks like it'll take more than stepping up as Crown Princess to change that part of you. Oh. But you know, seeing you makes me feel kind of relieved. I always figured if someone like you became Crown Princess, you'd have virtually no freedom to do anything other than work. But from all that's reached my ears, it sounds like you're actually doing all right for yourself. And you even made some great new friends after I left the academy, didn't you? Nice. I sure did. Nonetheless, it's thanks to you that I was able to change it all. You were the one who gave me the first push in the right direction. I never got the chance to thank you properly after you left. But all this time I've always been grateful to you. Well, consider me honoured. Do I get a kiss in return? You do not. I may feel respect towards you, but nothing romantic. That's a bummer. There was me all taken in by how pretty you'd become, wondering if this could be the start of something downright magical. And what happens instead? My dreams of romance and sweet smooches are crushed to nothing before they can even begin. I know you don't mean a word of that, you know. You're looking very sharp yourself, though. It's surprising to see. Every time I've seen you before today, it was in that heavily frayed uniform worn in the most sloppy way imaginable. I think you'll find I was merely making a fashion statement. That wasn't laziness or slobbiness, every part of it was carefully calculated and considered to have maximum effect. The scary thing is, I actually believe you. You always seemed as if you cared for nothing but having fun and causing trouble, yet when it came down to it, you were wise beyond your years. And I've finally seen part of the reason behind that today. I'll ask you again, Lecture. How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne like this? Just what happened to you between you submitting your notice to leave the Academy and now? Do you now? I have to admit, I never imagined that would be the case. On the contrary, I was expecting you to tell me to back off. Oh, adios forbid. What reason would I have to suggest such a thing? After all, at the end of the day, our positions are functionally the same. I'm not sure I understand. Do you not think so? Personally, I find it difficult to believe that you would not harbour some hatred toward Erebonia as it is today. A grand empire clinging to the glories of a bygone era, ruled by the nobility and shackled by meaningless conventions. Am I wrong? People call me the Blood and Iron Chancellor as though I hold the whole of Erebonia in the palm of my hand, but in reality my position is far more tenuous. I have supporters and allies in the capital certainly, but outside its walls, the nobility holds far more sway than any of them. And while it is true I hold a great amount of power in the form of the Imperial Army, even then I can only truly command around 70% of it. The remainder is loyal to the nobility, who also maintain their own private armies. With those factored in, my advantage shrinks substantially. So you see, I am still very much in the midst of a battle to truly exert control. Which is why you're building railways all over the country to expand your area of influence, and you've been annexing new territory to that same end. As I've long thought, you clearly understand me better than anyone else. That is why I'll say this once again. Work with me, Your Highness. With your support, our nation will be able to bring about real reform faster than ever. The noble faction, bloated with its centuries of decadence, can be stopped before they even have the chance to unify against us. Surely that's what you desire more than anything? Let me ask a simple question, Chancellor. What connection do you have with Ouroboros? I'm afraid I'm quite not sure what you're asking. I will say this, however. I'm a firm believer in using every resource at my disposal in the name of achieving reform. That's the way I believe in handling politics. I see. But it certainly does seem as though we would see eye to eye in many ways, and that's all the more reason why I'm afraid I must refuse your offer. Is that so? Yes, I find it difficult to like the rotten noble faction that exists in the Empire. Or perhaps you're right that hate is the more appropriate word, but my feelings of fear towards your methods are far greater than my feelings of hatred towards the nobles. What you seem to be doing is trying to compel Erebonians with a delusive utopia, to whip them into an enthusiastic frenzy. No doubt by successfully convincing the people, the old guard will fall into the metaphorical firestorm created, and yet by then the gears will have already begun turning. There will be no satisfying a roused populace with a thirst for revolution. The storm will just keep growing larger and more ravenous, engulfing anything and everything in its wake. You know this, don't you, Chancellor? But of course! After all, that's what I intend to happen. It's the first stage of my reforms. I'd be more than happy to share further details with you if you were to decide to work with me, Your Highness. In the meantime, I wish you well in strengthening your foothold back in the Empire. Of course, if that's your intention, you'll find it a necessity to work with those nobles you so despise. Huh, you truly do see through everything, don't you? Well, that sounds like the noon bell. The airship should be arriving shortly. Which means it's time for me to take my leave, I'm afraid. I look forward to seeing you again in the capital in 2 weeks' time. I take it the discussion is over then? What's wrong? You look awfully tired. Oh, nothing. I'm just feeling awed anew at what a monster I decided to pick a fight with. Oopsie, I think it's probably about time for the airship to arrive. I'm gonna have to stop you there and get going. What? See you, Siege. Next time I see you, I'll bring you some Erebonian salami as a souvenir, okay? Wait! Are you planning to just disappear without telling me anything a second time? Oh, got an important question for you. Did you fall in love with someone while I was away? You hit the nail on the head, huh? Aw, that's so cute. First love, right? How's that feel? Heart all aflutter one minute, end of the world the next? Don't you dare start teasing me. But you're right, though. I did. He rejected me in this very spot not that long ago. Wait, you're joking, right? There's a coincidence I didn't see coming. Not so sure about that. It feels like you know everything sometimes. I'm not some kind of all-knowing, all-seeing divinity. That's what makes the world so interesting to me. Oh? I'm happy for you, Chloe. Knowing the pain of lost love's what makes a girl blossom, in my humble opinion. Do you feel like the whole experience let you get a step closer to the person you want to be? Well, what about you? Do you feel you're getting closer to becoming the person that you want to be? By being at the Chancellor's side? Kinda hard to do that when I don't have a person I want to be to begin with. I'm just sticking with him because it feels like it'll be fun, that's all. I've been doing it since before I joined the academy, in fact. You have? That prince is proving surprisingly capable, but he still isn't a match for the Chancellor. Tell him to watch his back, alright? So that he doesn't get swallowed up by that monster after he gets tired of dancing. Goodbye, Lecture. Thank you all for waiting. The Calabria International Airliner bound for the Principality of Remiferia will be departing momentarily. Please find your footing when boarding. So that was the Blood and Iron Chancellor. I can't believe he actually went out of his way to use a civilian airship when he probably has a private one of his own. I'd heard rumors about how out of the ordinary he is, but he lives up to all of them. He keeps me on my toes, to put it playfully enough. Him aside, thanks for coming all this way to see me off, Shara. I was lucky I just happened to have business here at the right time. Feels like this is going to be the last chance we get to see one another for a while after all. Rather unfortunate as my dream is, and always was, to live away my days in the lap of luxury surrounded by women as beautiful as you. Well, good luck with that. Changing the subject though, who was the young man at the Chancellor's side? He didn't strike me as your ordinary guy. Oh, you could tell? But of course, I'd say I'm used to running into people who are out of the ordinary at this point. We've sure fought enough of them. His name's Lecture Arundel. He's a secretary who was sent here by the Imperial government. Apparently he was the one who planned out all of the details of the Chancellor's visit to Labelle. I can't pretend to know much regarding his background, but he's exceptionally skilled at what he does. Actually, I know a little. What? Oh? Is that true? Yes. Claudia explained that Lecture was once attending the same academy as her and had served as its student council president. She also mentioned about his sudden disappearance after the academy festival 2 years ago. Unbelievable. Then, someone connected to the Chancellor had visited Labelle first. Then he's very likely to have had his own veritable information network established here long before I even came up with the idea. I think it's safe for us to assume that's the case. Which also means that it's safe to assume he knows every detail about all that's happened here since. From the coup d'etat to the... Coup d'etat? I think that's how you say that. To the crisis regarding the Aureole. All of it. This man gets more unbelievable by the moment. He actually gave me a message to pass on to you earlier too. Watch your back so you don't get swallowed up by that monster when you get tired of dancing. He sure knows how to sting where it hurts, doesn't he? I feel like I can see a whole new world of pleasure opening up before my eyes. He should know better. Getting outdone at every turn like this is really not my style. What do you mean? Captain Schwarz? I have a little favor I'd like to ask for when we're in the air. I'm rather impressed with how Prince Olivier has come along. No matter how he chooses to act from here on, he will have his uses to be certain. You would say that, given that you think of everyone as your pawns. There's me, the prince, that's society. Indeed. And I am much the same. We are but pawns in the vast game board that is the Empire, where a thrill like no other will take place. It's because of you too, wish to see how that game plays out, that you've chosen to stand with me, is it not? Well, hey, what can I say? Just don't forget about this piece right here might not be a loyal forever. And such a betrayal would be perfectly fine by me. Or did you honestly think I'd never considered the possibility it may happen? Just thought I'd come out and say it. How's the other Ironbloods doing, by the way? They're all doing very well by the sound of it. At the rate things are going, there's a chance all of the prince's efforts will be for naught. Perhaps I ought to hold back on him a little. You sure don't pull any punches, do you? You know something? I wouldn't write him off so easily if I were in your shoes. What? What? Huh. These look like rose petals. If you look out the windows on the right-hand side of the airship, you'll be able to see the famous high-speed cruiser, the Arcel. We've been informed that it is on its way to the Imperial capital with Prince Olivier of the Ereboni Empire on board. He has also given us a message to relate to all of the passengers on board today. I give thanks to Adios for the good fortune to have been able to meet you today. May your journey be filled with beautiful roses and her blessings. And of course, may your journey to your homes be a safe and pleasant one. That marks the end of his message. Gotta hand it to him. Olivier has style. Chancellor Osborne might be able to leave his people in fear. but Olivier can make his people love him. And that is much stronger motivation than fear. I never thought there was a bigger dumbass in this world than me, and yet here we are. Very well, debaucherous prince. I look forward to seeing what you can do. Show me how long you can hold out against me. Turn to the Empire finished. Divine Eye. You know what? Olivier, he actually has quite the tactical mind when it really comes down to it. He's got plans in motion. Let's have a quick look, see what this new quartz does. Divine Eye. Scent, Eagle Eye, Information, Septium Vein, Look. That is quite a few things. That is a really useful gem. I'm going to be definitely making use of that at some point. But anyway, I think that's where we are going to call this for today, everybody. So thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed that little look into the past with Olivier and Mueller. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon. See next episode's coming out. And feel free to leave a comment, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye bye for now.